Good morning, hello, my lovelies. Good afternoon, good evening. Hola, how are you? Bonjour and buongiorno. My name is Fortina, and today I'm going to talk about forsaken identity. So we're going to read up in the book of Jeremiah 1:5, and it says, "Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. I set you apart and I appointed you as a prophet." So we're going to look this verse in two ways. So we're going to look at the part where God says, "Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you." So this specifically says that even before our parents conceive us, God already know who we are and what we are going to be. However, given different times, different changes, different families, different environments that we are born in, we might take that identity of that environment. And we live through life thinking that that identity is our own identity. However, God says, "I knew you. I knew who you are going to be. I knew who you are going to become. I knew everything that you are going to face in this life. The good, the bad, the ugly, the things that might change you, the things that are going to still kill and destroy your identity that I know of you. The false interpretation of who I am. The false interpretation of your own identity. Because you are born in developing areas, in a developing country, you think that's who you are. Because you are born in an area or environment that is war-torn, that's who you think you are. Because you are born in a gang-led area, that's who you think you are. Because you are born in a below poverty line area, country, family, that's who you think you are. You have had to do so many things, unimaginable things, to live, to survive, to thrive, to think that you are surviving, to think that you are living. But then God is saying, "I know who you are and I set you apart." What I'm calling you guys to think of is, what I'm telling you guys to think of is that set apart part means what for us? So number one, God formed us in his own likeness and his image. He knew us before even our parents conceived us. And then the second part is like, "I set you apart." So that setting apart looks like what in your life now? I want to think about it. It could be that you might have resigned from your job. You might have been rejected. You might have been fired. A relationship has ended. Your family has abandoned you. Your friends have rejected you. Now that is what is called set apart. Set apart, it's a part where that the identity you knew yourself as, the people surrounding you, the things that were surrounding you, you thought those were you. You thought that was part of you. You thought that is you. And now God is setting you apart. And that part of being set apart, it's hard. It's challenging. It's difficult. It is lonely. You cry a lot. You are in the wilderness. You are in the wilderness. And this is also the part where if you know the story of the Israelites. So they came from Egypt and they were in the wilderness for about 40 years before they get into promised land. In that 40 years, God was changing their hearts because they had taken on they were Israelites, but they had taken on the identity of the Egyptians because they were slaves. They were born into slavery, and they might have thought that slavery is all they are. Slavery is all they know. A slave, a people pleaser, somebody who can't accept themselves for who they are. You think there's something wrong with your image. You think there's something wrong with your body, how God created you to be. You think there's something wrong with how God created you to be because maybe you are short, maybe you are overweight. You think you are overweight. Maybe you are tall and maybe you are slim. And that's where your identity is struggling, because God is saying, "I set you apart." So If you feel that this message is for you, I would like maybe you to think and reflect what is setting apart looks like for you. It could be you're being called to serve in a different country. It could be you're being called to go to a different state. It could be that you're being called to move houses. It could be you are being called to move from different area. Maybe you used to live with your parents, you need to live with your aunt or your sister or your sibling to be set apart. Or maybe you need to be in isolation for a period of time because God is setting you apart. However that looks for you, I can't come here and tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you need to do this, and you need to be, and no. God talks to all of us individually. So however you're set apart is different from somebody else set apart, and is different from my own set apart. So I can't say this is how you should be set apart. So if you feel that God is setting you apart because what you thought was going to be is not happening the way you thought it is supposed to be happening, and things are not making sense anymore, that is that identity of the world that is shedding off. So God is calling you into a new thing, to be the person he created you to be the woman that he created you to be the man that he created you to be, to raise that family in the ways that he created them to become. Because unless we take on the identity of who God has created us to be, we will always take on the identity of the world, what the world tells us to be, what the world has rejected us, what the world is profoundly telling us we are, what is the culture telling you that you are, what your neighbors think that you are, what your family says that you are, what your friends think that you are, what your colleagues calls you to be. It could be a toxic work environment. It could be an unhealthy relationship. Friends, family, any of those things. That is the identity of the world that we take on because of the environment and circumstances that we are born into. And we live through life thinking this is who we are. This is who we are supposed to be. This is who we were meant to be. But I'm urging you to take on the identity that God has called you to be. And the last part in that verse says, I called you to be a prophet. We might not all be prophets, but God has specific details and agenda and ideas of who he has called us to be. It could be you need to leave your job. It could be you need to move to a different country. It could be you need to leave your family. It could be you need to leave your friends. It could be you need to go to a new land. He's doing a new thing within you, a new thing within you. So however that is going to look for you, all I pray is for strength, for resilience, for understanding, and for wisdom, for you to be ushered into the new thing that God is calling you to be. So stay blessed. God loves you, and we'll meet another time. Bye.